Welcome everyone to Rivals Assembled, a Marvel Rivals podcast. I am your host, Mark Turcotte, and I'm so glad each and every one of you are tuning into the show. So yes, we are a Marvel Rivals podcast. Obviously, if you're tuning into this, you have some sort of excitement for this video game, and hopefully it's on the same level as us, because we are incredibly excited to get this show off the ground and begin talking to you about Marvel Rivals every single week. So, quick little thing about this specific episode. This episode itself is really meant just to kind of set up the feed for what the show is going to be, from all the different platforms that it's going to be available on. We will eventually be getting out there to YouTube and Twitch and all that. But for now, this is just kind of setting up the podcast feed. Now, if you're kind of wondering about just the hosts of the show, well, my name is Mark Turcotte. I've been podcasting, since 2008, I think was my very first podcast. But the one most people would probably know me from, if you do recognize my voice, is Guardian Radio. We were kind of at one point the first and longest running Destiny podcast, but we have since shut that down and have kind of moved on. I myself had been doing The Enthusiast Life up until about a year or two ago, and I kind of been taking a break from podcasting, but kind of wanting to get back into it, and kind of over that period getting into MOBAs and hero shooters and that, and becoming a huge fan of Overwatch and kind of really getting into the meta of that game, and all the while being a comic book fan, a Marvel fan. And when I saw my first glimpse of Marvel Rivals, it was like my two worlds coming together of my two loves. And so I'm super excited to get this show off and rolling. And I will say, I have an incredible crew to be doing it with. The guys you're going to hear on this episode, I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but they are guys I've been gaming with now for years, from playing Overwatch to we play D&D, tabletop games, card games, all that stuff. We've been doing that for a while now, and we've become great friends, and so I think I've kind of assembled a great crew to be the hosting crew here of Rivals Assembled. So the purpose of this episode, like I said, is to set up the feed. So what you're about to hear is actually a episode of The Enthusiast Life that came out back in May. On May 24th of this year, 2024, we had taken part in the Marvel Rivals closed alpha on PC. So we sat down for over an hour and 40 minutes just discussing our impressions, our hopes, our dreams for what Marvel Rivals could be. So I decided to kind of bump that in here for this episode 0 to kind of give you a feed or feel of what the show will be, and kind of what it will be kind of moving forward here. Again, just enjoy that, but know that it is a little bit dated in terms of the information that's in there. Of course, we hadn't even had hands-on or even any glimpse of Jeff, Adam Warlock, because of course those came in the closed beta, which we all did partake in too as well. But again, no discussion of that here. Plus, since then, we've had Winter Soldier, we've had Captain America, as well as the Psylocke announcement. And of course, right now there is literally the server test happening in China. So a lot has changed in terms of even character tweaks and things like that. So none of that's going to be here. But again, just a fun conversation. If you need more Rivals injected into your ear holes, this is a great way to do it, because you're going to get over an hour 40, nearly 2 hours of Marvel Rivals conversation that you can listen to. So hopefully you enjoy it. Now, not only is this setting up the feeds, but I also want to just, let you know where you can find us. So over on Twitter/X, you can find us at Rivals Assemble. You can find us over there. And we want you to be a part of the show. So make sure that you are sending us emails, if you can, at rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. I would love to have just your feedback and just your questions and topics. That's something we do want to introduce into the show. General structure of the show, once we do get rolling, when we kind of get back to, or when we get to our normal format, will be obviously breaking down the news, the latest news, any updates to the game, so tweaks to characters, nerfs, buffs, all that good stuff, talking about the meta, as well as topics from you. We do hope to get into the competitive scene a little bit in terms of discussing that, any big tournaments, results, things like that. That are happening in the game, as well as one of the things we want to do is, because we are all comic fans and Marvel fans, we want to get into, when it comes to characters, breaking down not only the kits and gameplay tips and things like that for each of the characters, but also the history of the characters in the Marvel Universe. Go over the characters. What stories should you be reading if you want more information? What, recommendations do we have for you to go and read about these characters? So that's something else we're going to do every week, spotlighting a character and kind of going through that. And of course, moving forward, I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to this game, right? I'm sure that's part of the reason why many of you are excited about it, like we are, is because there are so many possibilities within the Marvel Universe that could be pulled into this game. So many different characters, so many different locations. And I mean, the game itself, because it is kind of this multiverse version of many of these characters, is going to have its own story and lore built into it as well. So we really looking forward to that. So those are some of the things you can look forward to from the podcast once we get rolling. So again, follow us on X, Twitter @RivalsAssemble, and email us rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. And the best thing you can do right now is whatever service you're listening to this through, subscribe to the show, because you're always going to get those new releases as soon as they come out. The plan is to have this show be weekly. Not exactly sure of the day based on schedules. In some episodes, you may just get like 2 or 3 of us, or who knows, even maybe some episodes where you might just get one of us. But the Rivals Assemble team, like I said, is a great team. And, we definitely want to make sure we're bringing you conversation every single week. So again, enjoy this roundtable discussion. I'm just going to let it play after this, and it's just going to play out and end kind of like it did back when it was an Enthusiast Life episode. But I figured it would be the best way to kind of let you know what you're in for if you do listen to the show and the great conversations that we're going to be having about this game in the weeks, months, and who knows, maybe even years to come. So with that, enjoy it, and we'll be talking to you soon. Hey, we're doing a Marvel Rivals closed alpha roundtable. So here with me today is the typical Retro Game Club crew. I got Matt. Matt, what's up?
What's up, Mark? Hopefully today's show isn't pure chaos.
Nice. I like that, man. Well, we're going to get into some of the sayings of these characters too, because I think some of them either need to be changed or maybe are just perfect. We'll talk about that. And also joining me is Ken's. Ken's, what's up, dude?
What's up? Yeah, glad we finally were able to get in and make this happen. So
yeah,
ready to talk about it.
For sure. And also joining us, our usual Retro Game Club member, but unfortunately he was too busy jumping off rocks at the cabin on vacation and could not get into the game, but we felt he needed to still be here to ask the hard-hitting questions that he has, and that of course is Neil. What's up, man?
Hey Mark, hey guys. Yep, I'm taking position of outsider looking in, wishing I was able to play this last week, but
our dear moderator, and
because he's the pro gamer that he is.
That's right.
He didn't need.
He's
didn't even
above
need to
this.
play it. He just already knows.
He didn't need the early access to the game to be to just know he's going to be good at it. Like he's just going to be good because he's a pro. He's the
This is true.
The only one that's been a pro out of all of us. But you know what? I do want to give a big shout out here at the beginning of the show, because none of us would have been playing this alpha, because we tried. We all put our names in, tried to get into the closed alpha. We were not chosen, but there was a listener of the Enthusiast Life, and I want to give him a shout out here over on Twitter @Lutran. If it wasn't for you, my friend, none of us would have been playing, because the way this closed alpha worked was you got in, and as long as you got up to, what was it, level 6 on your account, you were then able to get a friend code, and those friend codes went live every day at 8 o'clock. And so we were able to get 3 more codes over the course of the days, and then, of course, the 3 of us got in and got to play. So, Lutran, big thanks to you, my friend, because if it wasn't for you, none of us would have been able to play the game. So we do appreciate that. Yes, you are you're a legend for sure.
I raise a Celsius to you.
I do want to throw out, too, here at the top of the show that just because of that, we are not Marvel Rivals content creators. We're not in the content creator program. We are not bound by any means to the contract, and we're not going to get into that whole mess. I'm sure some people have seen that, so we're not into that. But so we can, everything we're saying, there's nothing sponsored here. We're just provided codes by normal gamers and friends of the show, just like everybody else out there that got their codes kind of through the typical path, the chosen path for the randomness. So. Everything you hear here is just straight up honest opinions on the game. So we're going to do a little bit loose here. We're going to give here just at the top of the show, because I know not everybody maybe wants to get into kind of the nitty gritty details of the characters and the maps and things like that. I mean, we've talked about before, we're pretty big Overwatch fans. So, we're into kind of the meta of Overwatch and all that. So for us coming to this game, that was really kind of the approach we were coming to it from. So we're going to get into some of that stuff later on and kind of just through our natural conversation, but just kind of topical stuff here. At the top, I want to throw it, I think, first to you, Kens, because you being into Overwatch before, I mean, you used to be big into playing the ranked playlists and all that. Coming into this game with kind of your Overwatch background, what are your overall thoughts of how the game plays? And you don't have to obviously compare it to Overwatch, but just what are your thoughts playing the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to. I think that, but I think for good reasons, we can compare it to Overwatch. For one, I think Overwatch needs the competition.
Definitely.
And, because it doesn't really have any other hero shooter out there is able to do what Overwatch does. And I think that this can definitely be that. But overall impressions is I had a good time. Watching videos. I think the lead up to this alpha, out of all of us here, I think I might have been hyped the least. Very skeptical.
I think so.
Very skeptical on NetEase, and just like I was excited for a Marvel property, and I think that this is the type of game. This is the type of game that is so good for Marvel. But just something about it to me it just wasn't. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, I'll play it. I'm gonna try it, but like, I'm not like blown away by what I'm seeing. But playing the game, it's a lot of fun. Like it's a good time. And when I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, and when that happens to me, I know that we're onto something here. Whenever I'm not playing the game, when I'm thinking about the game, and I'm thinking about some of those feelings and some of those moments that happen in the game, then I know we're on a good start. So. That's really all that matters to me right now is like that I had fun when I played it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about in terms of what's good and what's bad. But overall thoughts is it's a good time.
Nice. All right, Matt, we'll throw it to you. I know you were pretty hyped for this. I mean, we're all big Marvel fans, definitely, but I know you are deep in just even comic book lore and all that. So on paper, for many of us, this was somewhat of a, how could this game possibly fail? But like this, when I saw this game, like I was obviously hyped, but I immediately thought of you, Matt. I was like, Matt, his wallet
this is made for you
is gonna be just throw it like the meme of the little kid just throwing money out the window. I'm like, this is Matt's that. This is it. Here it is. Here
like,
we go.
Unashamedly. And I'm one of those people that is like, you know what? If it makes you happy, do it. You don't have to defend how much you spend on a game. Like, I'd much rather you buy cosmetics in a game than going out and having a dangerous addiction, everything within reason. But yeah, I was super stoked for this game. Overwatch is pretty much the only shooter that I played. It was the first shooter that I played. I never got into like Call of Duty. I played a little bit of Halo with you guys. But I wasn't around in gaming for that big push, and when all of that kind of like erupted in the gaming sphere. So I guess shooters are still relatively new to me, but nothing really excites me about like war games or just like military soldiers going out and doing stuff. I gotta have that hero component, and Overwatch scratches that itch. I guess the closest you could say on the market right now to Overwatch is probably Valorant. But even still, that's light years different.
Yeah, it's to me, Valorant's much more of a tactical shooter, and I don't want to say Overwatch doesn't have tactics, but it's, I don't know, the way like we were talking before, its game mode is in Call of Duty is referred to as like search and destroy. So it's more about those eliminations. Like when you're dead, and you got to sit the round out. And so it's really, really tactical, much slower pace. I mean, the heroes have big abilities that you can throw around in Valorant, but still, it's very different than Overwatch.
Yeah, and I guess I have a big background in just Marvel games, period. Like mobile games, especially Marvel, Future Fight, Strike Force. Did a little bit of Snap, Puzzle. What is it, Puzzle Quest or whatever it is? Like I'm into all those little Marvel games. So I was like, just add this. Like I'm there day one. It was great.
What do you think of Rivals though? So you jump in. What did you think?
So this was my first alpha experience. I've done beta testing for games before, and so I was expecting this to be actually in a rougher spot than it was. But I was very pleased at the like the level that they presented. When I applied, I wasn't completely forthcoming about the strength of my gaming laptop. That they clearly said your gaming PC will not be able to handle it if it does not meet these specs, and mine did not. But I was like, well, what could go wrong? So any issues I experienced lag wise, I feel was on myself because of the strength of my machine. But the polish on the game, the characters, the voice acting, the animations, the thought that was put into everything, it's a great start, and I can't wait to see where they go from here, especially with some of the things that they posed in the surveys. I don't know if you guys did those, but some of the things they had already started asking about the game. Excited to see what they do.
Yeah. I think for me, my initial impression, I remember putting it in after that like first night of gameplay, was how it felt a bit more chaotic to me than Overwatch. But then as the days went on, I think that really bled more into maybe I'm going to say my just knowledge of the game, but I mean any game like this, like, and even goes to MOBAs and that, like, until you know what the hero across from you can do and even know your kit and get that muscle memory and how to use all your abilities, it just feels like chaos. So by the end of the alpha, the closed alpha, like, I was starting to feel like teams working a little bit more together, like where, somebody may make a pick and then you would see like on that character select screen, everybody else would kind of switch to a different character because it was like people were actually trying to go for the win. Now, the one thing I didn't do was I didn't go into the ranked mode that they put out. And I kind of regret doing that because I have a feeling that was where you were going to see teams more working together and kind of more of those tactics. I was with this jumping more into just the different heroes because I want to kind of feel everybody out and see who I liked, who I didn't like, maybe who felt too strong or, whatever. And like, to me, that was, you mentioned it, Ken, the fun of the game. Like, this game was just incredibly fun. Like, even though I'm still, I right now where I stand with this compared to Overwatch in terms of like the tactics and all that, I still feel like Overwatch to me right now feels more competitive. And again, that's probably just because I'm more deep in the meta and the maps and, hero countering and all that stuff. And that will come with Rivals. But just the fun of, I just want to jump in and play Hulk this match. Like, I may not be that great with them, but every once in a while I would get like 2 support healers that were healing me, so I could lunge in there as Hulk, quickly drop my shield on, do a quick clap, beat up the Groot just a little bit, and then leap back out. And then they would heal me up, and then I would just leap back in and just keep doing that. And every once in a while, you'd get in a game where you just had kind of that perfect team, and the synergy was there, and that's when you would be like, okay, this game, I can see what this can be. And eventually it's going to get there. Through balance and changing the heroes and doing. I mean, that's the whole point of the closed alphas. But the fun of this game, man, like you said, Kenz, I was thinking about it like when I wasn't playing it, and even right now, like I've been like every morning I've woken up and I'm like, damn, I just wish I could play more Rivals right now. It is so much fun to play, and a part of that is of course coming from just being a Marvel fan and loving everything about it, like all the Marvel games and even like Marvel's Avengers. I was one of those people that the game wasn't the greatest for the longevity of playing it as a live service game, but it was cool as hell to play Iron Man. And so in here, I get to be Iron Man. I get to just hover in the air and just keep dropping bombs, and every once in a while do your big repulsor beam. And I mean, it was just so much fun to be able to kind of live that hero fantasy and everybody working together. They really did a great job. And Matt, you brought up a great point. The fact that this was a closed alpha. Games in this state usually are not closed alpha, which really makes me wonder how long it's going to be till this game actually opens up to more people. I mean, I think there are some hero changes that probably will need to be made, and that stuff will need to be tested. Yep. But it almost wouldn't surprise me if very soon they open it up to, I mean, right now it's only on PC, so we'll see kind of what they do console-wise. But I don't think it's going to be much longer before we actually at least get to get hands-on again with the game, whether it's in some sort of, either closed beta or open beta. I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't see it.
I feel it could be out to the public by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I see a closed beta coming in fall, and then quickly after the closed beta, like I could see it rolling out around the holidays, which would be super interesting, seeing a free-to-play game coming out at the holidays, potentially disrupting whatever big releases.
Now, when did Overwatch 2 was what, October, I think? Which again, I mean, that game was already established. I mean, it was more
The
just
whole
like
thing.
right. I mean, we're not going to go into that, but I mean, that was a game that had done that. I think though this would make a bigger impact because that's the thing, dude. Like this game having that Marvel skin on it right there sells the game for people. Whether you even know what the game is, like people are just going to download it because Iron Man's in it, or your favorite hero is maybe not your favorite yet is in the game, but they probably will be, or at least you'll see heroes who you want to play as and be able to jump in. Now, Neil, you were watching some streams in that, right? I think you were watching some of the characters and all that. What did you think just from, I guess, the footage you've seen now that it was kind of out there? And I mean, that was a cool thing too, is this wasn't, it was a closed alpha, but they were just letting people stream left and right, put it out there, tell us everything, what you're thinking about the game. I mean, what do you think kind of as somebody watching the footage of people playing? And that was the feeling you were getting?
Yeah, I thought the access to it was interesting, how it was kind of limited, but then they were trying to get everybody watching streams to get a key, or the weird stuff they had going on their Discord, like, hey, we've got this release coming in 15 minutes, put your name in and maybe you'll get it, or whatever.
That Discord is a mess.
It is.
So yeah, I know you were sending out the message like, yeah, 15 minutes, try and get it in there or whatever. And it was like happening throughout the night and trying to get the keys and stuff like that. I think my assumption is their network being able to take on all those players at once is probably what drove the limited access to it. They couldn't let everybody who wanted to play at this point because they're probably trying to get their servers ready for the big rush of players in there. That's my kind of guess about it, why they wouldn't just let everybody play, because they can't handle it right now. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Another thing that I noticed was how good the visuals were when I saw a stream of it. Like, you think free to play game, something like that. And I don't know if it was ever mentioned that should be like a mobile game, or if it was just PC right now, right? I assume it's going to come to consoles as well, but I know, Mark, you were streaming some of that Star Wars Hunters game that's going to come out shortly as a mobile and Switch game, and that looks like a phone game, right?
Right.
This
definitely,
looks like an actual, well put together PC game.
One thing with this game, I honestly, I don't see this coming to mobile, definitely. I could see them, though, trying to do a Switch port, or at least whatever Switch 2 ends up being, but this is running on Unreal 5.
Would fry my phone.
Right, but it's on Unreal 5, so it's like this is on that next step. We're starting to see games now coming out on Unreal Engine 5, and this game is one of those games. I mean, the good thing about...
Is that what Diablo Immortal's on?
No, I don't think
that's
so.
Only
not.
Because that's the mobile-only game, and I remember...
It's on PC.
I was impressed with that game, but that was like... I remember the first day we were all playing it, like I got a burn from my phone.
Yeah, that
because
thing
it like heated up, and I was like, oh, I had to play this in low.
Yeah.
Or
I think the way this game plays, I mean, it's meant to be a competitive hero shooter that you're not really going to want that on a phone. Now, a game like Star Wars Hunters is made for the phone. It's a third person hero shooter, whatever you want to call it, but it is built for the phone. So, I think that game can work there in that space, but you're not making, headshots in that game. You can, but it's not like any of the headshots you're going to be making here as, playing as some of the more, like, let's say a guy like Punisher or somebody like that. It's not, I don't know. It's just not, you don't need to be as precise, I think, in Star Wars Hunters. And those matches are only literally like a max of 4 minutes because they're building those game modes to be mobile. Where here, I mean, I don't know really, what was the longest match you guys had in here? I mean, there was the one mode where you had the 3 control points when you were trying to get into the Asgardian library or whatever it is.
Lengthy whenever you had to go to the third phase, but I don't know, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, I would say, but it still wasn't too bad,
at the
right?
longest.
It was still.
My last match, the last match I played as the server was shutting down on Monday was the longest match, and that was like. It might have been 11 minutes total because we were pushing at we were pushing overtime, like the whole last like minute and a half or whatever, and that drug it out. But yeah, fairly short matches.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, that's the one thing that this now. I mean, the one big complaint with Overwatch 2 was they dropped it down from 6v6 to 5v5, and so matches were a little bit quicker just due to that in Overwatch. This, they've gone back to the 6v6. You're looking for your 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 supports, which, of course, when you're playing unranked in this, not everybody's doing that. There is nothing, as of right now, there's not a role queue. Because, Matt, I remember you saying that, like, where's the role queue? I'm like, it's not in there yet. The first night we were playing, like, it's so, you could go in and literally have, like, 5 tanks if people were just wanting to do that. But
I don't like that, though. Like, I kind of miss because that's how Overwatch 1 was.
It was,
the longest time. And, like, I used to, like, I had some friends, we would go into a game and we would do what we called Monkey Madness, where we just all played Winston. And just 6 Winstons jumping over a bridge coming straight onto your face. There was nothing you could do. It was great.
Nothing.
And so, like, being able to do stuff like that in this game, I think, is a lot of fun. And even right now, it's like, you like you're saying, Mark, you see your favorite, Marvel hero that you want to play as, and then like you log into the game and someone's always picking Spider-Man every time, and you can't play Spider-Man. It's like, well, just do whatever you want. It's a good time.
Yeah,
that's what I started doing because we've already referenced Overwatch a lot, and it's going to keep happening.
It's going to keep happening. I mean, I think any discussion about it,
so I usually main support because I am a panic DPS and a bad tank because it's like, oh, don't hurt me. But in this, I mainly played like a DPS character because the supports are a little bit more. They required a little bit more accuracy, which your boy isn't great at. Shout out to anybody who doesn't know that I'm not the best gamer. But there were some situations like where you're talking about when there was, not a balance of roles. It's like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to be support this game because we already have 2 tanks, 2 DPS. Let me round it out. But then some of the other characters would be lacking, I guess. I was like, well, let me try and be DPS and then make up for it. And then they would end up switching to support because I was doing a better job. So, like you said earlier, Mark, I think it's that kind of ecosystem is starting to develop.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see, like, had they let the test run longer or even at the open of the beta, what it's like in that kind of matchmaking.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I even got to that point where I was like towards the end would see the team that we had, or even, was even getting to the point of the maps. Like, okay, what map are we on? What tank should I play here? Like, and it also was dependent on, do we have another tank? Like, the cool thing about with Overwatch when they would do 6v6 was you would have your main tank and then you'd have like an off tank. And like for me, that's where Hulk was like an off tank almost in this game, where like he could take a lot of damage, but he was more like your dive tank. I was playing him very risky if we had like a Doctor Strange or a Magneto. So like that Magneto and Doctor Strange, they were our main tank. They were the ones kind of right up front going slow. And meanwhile, I'm leaping over, Doctor Strange or Magneto on the ground, kind of just causing chaos, forcing the team to turn around. And usually every time I would leap, if you held down, I think it was his E, he would pop that like shield on him. So you jump in as Hulk, pop that shield. So they're hitting you and you're just swinging, clap like once. By that point, your leap is back, turn around, leap back out, get to safety, get heal. And then by this point, the team has to turn back around. They're facing Magneto. And then I'm coming over him again because I was able to heal up. And I just kept back, forth. And you're just like basically harassing them as a tank. And then your DPS is able, if you had good healers too. So you had to make sure you kind of had like, where I think if you were trying to be the main tank as Hulk, just Hulk, and then then you had like 3 DPS and like 2 support. It was kind of tough because it was like everybody's focusing Hulk, and then you're just getting burned down. Where if you had that off tank, and that's where I think we're going to be able to see cool comps in this. Going back to the 6v6, you can have those 2 tanks and have one tank that's your primary, and then have kind of that other one that's more your harass. And then even what's her name, Penny Parker. I didn't play her at all till the very last day. Yeah. And I was kind of pissed I didn't play her, because then I was like, you know what? Rather than play Hulk, I was having fun with her as like an off tank, because with her, the way Penny Parker works is you're able to throw down, I think it was up to like 4 of these little mines on the ground. And then you could also put down this like beacon that little spider bots would come out constantly. They're blowing up on the field. And then she also had that web that she would throw that would like basically wrap people up. So we'd have our main tank actually soaking most of the damage. And I would usually kind of be at their shoulder or kind of right with them, but then keep just throwing those mines every time they could come up. So the other team is just constantly stepping on these mines, and then keep just harassing them with that spider web. And I mean, dude, that spider web would knock people out of their alts. So the most satisfying thing that last day was a Scarlet Witch come flying in, trying to do her, and then you just hear it get shut down. Done. Just immediately shut her down. Or Iron Man going up there, getting ready to do his bomb, immediately shut it down. Like, that was amazing. And I'm like, why have I not been playing this character the whole time?
I think that's one of the big things I need to look at, because it was so easy to knock so many characters out.
It was. Like, she's totally overpowered.
The character I played the most was Scarlet Witch. And so if you're familiar with Overwatch, her ult is basically like Diva's detonation.
Yep.
Where she takes in a bunch of chaos energy and then erupts in this big explosion. But it takes like 6 seconds to go off.
Takes forever.
And she just becomes like a little guy while she's
vulnerable.
You're
in the
it's
air,
like
charging up,
Oh my gosh, like 2 like regular hits and she just dies. And it's like, huh?
You've got to cook the grenade with her for a little bit, like behind a wall or something.
She has one of her other abilities is kind of like a fade, like Reaper in Overwatch, but she could fly up or fly down if you needed her to. And so you'd have to kind of like in the shadows kick the ult off, or like fly up into the air and then like re-solidify and then ult, where you were sure like nobody was around, and then like try and get all the way to the ground before someone killed you. And it was just like,
I mean, come on, there's nothing wrong with you building up your whole ult, come flying in, you got 6 seconds, you're screaming in the air, I'm Penny Parker looking forward, take my time, look up, and just hit my right click and shut it down, right? There's nothing overpowered about that. Like, totally wrong. That should not happen at all.
Oh, God.
But it was very satisfying, I will say.
But how's that any different than like Anna's sleep dart? Doesn't that do the same thing?
Yeah, true. Yeah. You come flying in as like Reinhardt. I mean, that's not an ult, but he comes flying in, to dash, you just put him to sleep, he's down.
But can the sleep dart nerf an ult?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. It's like I'm down for it, but it's just like
Zenyatta. Can you put Zenyatta to sleep when he's doing his?
Oh no, probably not him.
Yeah, I mean, it makes him vulnerable at that point.
You can
cut the ult time down from like 6 seconds to like 3 or 4 even. Like that would make a huge difference.
That's like way too long.
Or allow her to like Moira, how she can phase in the middle of her ult. Like she can teleport somewhere and then just pick the ult back up. Let Scarlet Witch be able to do that so she could kick it off, phase into the middle of the battlefield and then erupt. She's still vulnerable, but she has more maneuverability. Because I think that was the thing that kind of frustrated me. It's that there was as soon as you hit the ult, she's just there and you can't move her at all.
I'll be honest, I only played her, like I thought I would play her a lot, and I think I was just having more fun playing some of the other characters, but every time I tried to do that ult, I usually probably half the time would get killed. Yeah. And I was like,
I found you had to come from above almost every time, like find a way to either jump up, phase up higher, and then just shoot down on him. But even then, there were so many, I think a couple shields block the ult. So it's like, we got to take a look at that too. Because like not every shield should be able to block an ult, maybe
a Magneto shield, because he's awesome. He's the best character in the game.
Or like if Magneto wrapped somebody, whatever that ability is, wrapped him in like that shield or whatever that he can do. It was like that severely cut down on the damage they did.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think I had 1 clear of the entire other team in all the games I played as Scarlet Witch. Every other time it was like 1, 2 maybe. But only 1 team kill. But hey, maybe I'm just a bad player.
When it happens, though, it's awesome.
One interesting thing the game does is the team ups, which I was kind of unsure how that was going to work till I actually got into the game. So before you get into a match, you can go to, it was in the menu, you could go in and see what the team ups were. And essentially what it is if you pick heroes that are basically bound by these team ups. So the one that I constantly encounter, well, there's really two of them, was either Magneto and Scarlet Witch, or there was because I played a lot of Rocket when I would play support, was Rocket and Punisher. And so what Rocket and Punisher did was, just because for whatever reason they had this team up, just those two together, it literally gave me an extra ability. So you literally have another button you can press as Rocket. I drop it down and it makes it where Punisher does more damage, basically has unlimited ammo, and I think he has like faster firing rate as long as he's within that circle, which was cool. As Magneto and Scarlet Witch, you were able to have the ability to pull metal off your back and create this giant sword. And I think you got 3 swings of the sword, and then it would go away. And then to bring it back, you'd have to throw that, Matt, you had mentioned that shield to like shield people. When you would throw that, then it would start absorbing more metal, and then you'd actually visibly see it on his back, like it would become kind of the Scarlet Witch, like pinkish purplish, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But which he would still get the purple on his back. He had like another ability that he would kind of blast off.
You just blast it out. Yeah.
But I think if you
Blast
had
it.
the team up, because you had Scarlet Witch with you, it was a little bit of a different shade color because of the team up kind of being active. So, dude, I think that's incredibly cool.
It's really cool.
That
And
is
it did
such a
a
neat thing.
stupid amount of damage. Like the amount of damage that tank Magneto team up ability did was like more than most of the DPS characters. It seemed like.
I would just push in, and you'd have like a Groot that was trying to throw a wall up, and you would I would literally sidestep the wall, and he's already a little bit hurt, and you just pull that sword out and you just beep.
And
2 or
it
3
has
swipes
a
dead.
30-second cooldown, so you just use it. It's
The
use it all the time.
cooldowns, like some of them are ridiculous though. There were, I forget which character it was, but it was like, now I can't think. 72 seconds. So like over a minute, like a minute 12, there was one with a 72-second cooldown, and I was like, huh?
Ooh.
I have to wait that long?
That's tough. That's too long.
Neil, were there any characters that I know you mentioned that you liked Groot. Were there any characters that you think would be really fun to play, or that you wanted to know more about, like on the outside looking in?
Just on the team ups. So are they abilities that have their own cooldowns that just appear?
Yes.
So it's not like a bar you charge up and able to use it.
Nope.
You can use it right at the beginning of the
Just
game.
another ability you get.
The mechanic is kind of different characters. So like playing Scarlet Witch a lot, she didn't actually have an ability, but I have like Brig in Overwatch, she has like 3 healing charges that you can throw out, and they have to recharge over time. Scarlet Witch has chaos magic bursts that she can throw out, and she has 4. And instead of like throwing those at people, I could throw them at Magneto, and that would charge up this ability for him.
Yeah.
But that was all like, that was the only part that I had in that. So I didn't actually have an ability. Magneto did though.
I think, what was that on keyboard? It was
depends.
C, wasn't it? Ken's, I think, was that team up ability?
I played most on controller, and it was Y for me. For
Okay,
that
right.
one,
So Neil, basically what it is like, if you think of Overwatch, like you're kind of in I call it the lobby, but like you're kind of waiting, everybody has their heroes, and you're sitting there. If 2 people came in with a team up, it would kind of on the left side of the screen say like team up active, and it would show like Scarlet Witch and Magneto. But if somebody, and then on the bottom of the screen, you would see your Y is available to you. But then if
Otherwise, you
they
can't press
quickly
that
went back in and said, you know what, I don't want to be Scarlet Witch, I want to be Punisher, and did that, then the Y goes away. And it's just, it literally is just to just get an extra ability. Not for both players, just for Magneto, because he's the one that gets the sword.
He's
and
the
it's
one who actually uses it.
just because Scarlet Witch is playing. But like Matt said, he could charge Magneto. And then like with Rocket and Punisher, I would get that a lot, because people would be playing Punisher. It would show up on the side of the screen. I would have just another ability where I could just drop another little... It was like another little beacon, and it just created a little like circle on the ground. And as long as he was within that circle, he was doing more damage, like Punisher was, and he could just shoot like crazy. So I would always, if I played Rocket and was with a Punisher, I would just try to be healing my tank, but try to stick with Punisher as much as I could, and just keep dropping that beacon as often as I could, and just
another one that's like, it's kind of passive is Hela and Loki. and basically like anytime Loki is near Hela, and if Loki dies and you get a kill with Hela, then Loki's revived. So like you don't get like
snap.
you don't
That's
get like
cool.
an ability. It's just kind of a passive thing that happens if those like circumstances are met.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool because it's not based on, I don't know, it's something different. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of those matchups were offered like cool things, like the Groot and Rocket one. Rocket rides on Groot's shoulder, and what is it, just like more healing for
Groot gets like an extra 200 health when Rocket is on his shoulder.
yeah,
crazy.
like
And Rocket's healing him, so he's basically invincible. Like you just can't.
Yeah. And I will
Great.
say, man, Groot as a tank, like, even though his ability, he basically can drop 2 little walls and 1 big wall, and those, just the cooldowns of those, like, literally, I was just dropping walls nonstop. All you got to do with him, as long as you have somebody healing you, especially if you had like a Loki healing you or a Luna, like you're just sitting there just constantly dropping those walls, and it's just like harassing the other team. And like, especially if you had like the payload mode, you're just moving forward and you're just constantly moving. And unless they're busting those walls down in a quick time and like focusing down those walls, I mean, I had matches where like I just didn't die as Groot because it was just
I
like
really didn't have
have a good
trouble
healer.
with Groot walls. Like I didn't find them as annoying as May walls.
yeah, no, because
Honestly,
they're not as
honestly,
big,
most
yeah.
of the time, like a Groot wall would pop up, and I would just walk around it.
Right,
I
yeah.
wouldn't ever or fly over it because most of them can fly. So I didn't. They didn't create much of a hang up for me. But some of the maps too, they weren't as close. You know, because like a lot of the May walls would pop up. You could like wall off a room and it's like they
Yeah.
didn't seem to be. Very
Yeah, the walls. I don't think
these
his
two
walls
maps.
are big enough to
Yeah.
really do that. There was some corners that were like, you could get stopped because he was able to just keep dropping in the corner. But for me, it would almost be like a one-on-one fight where I just felt like they should be able to take me down. I just would keep dropping the walls, and you could tell they were just getting pissed because it's just like, nope, I'm gonna drop another one. You're gonna break. I'm gonna drop another one, and then I'm
that
gonna.
was me.
He
That
had
was
a he had a bomb that's almost like a splash bomb that kind of like can do like an AoE effect, and
Or
then he
bomb.
also had his like he would punch out his fist, but it would go a pretty good distance, like a good. I mean, I'd be hitting an Iron Man up in the air as Groot, like I'm on the ground looking up at an Iron Man, just punching the Iron Man up in the air. I mean, it was kind of wild.
Neil, I would really like to see you as a Groot because of like the tactician mind that you have.
Yes,
I think it'd be really interesting to see how you use not only his walls, because his offensive walls, they have an ability where if you get near them, like the vines lash out at you. And then he has, I forget what the defensive wall is, like the red wall.
I think it's
I
just
guess
a
it was
big
like-
long ass wall.
If you
It's long.
stayed near it,
Yes, the long ass wall.
I think if you stayed near it, you got more
the
healing or
long-
something like
long-ass
that.
wall.
But people were manipulating them like how in Overwatch you can turn the May wall like perpendicular. You can change the position of it. Like people were, instead of walling off an area, they'd lay the wall flat on top of the cart, and like it had tricked the cart into thinking that people were around it and it would keep moving. So I think those are some mechanics that they're going to take a look at. Yeah. Or like they would build the wall like on top of the cart, but like to the right. So they would all get behind that wall on the right side of the cart and just keep pushing it and just be, it'd be absorbing all the damage. I don't know. I think that'd be really cool to see how you play Groot.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I was wondering if he would be more like a melee tank, kind of like a Reinhardt, waving his arms around. But
He
you
has
said
some
that he
range
has
to
a
him.
little bit of range.
Hey, you
to it.
could play him a number of different ways, which is that's so cool that he has that much utility.
Yeah, because that's what surprised me about him. Neil was like, I thought he was just going to be a brawler, basically. Like, I can drop these walls, but they need to be in front of me to punch. And then the first time I took a shot, and the person was like, I mean, I don't know what the in-game measurements are, but I mean, they were what appeared to be a couple meters away, and you're doing it. And then, like I said, there's literally an Iron Man flying like way above me, and I as Groot, I'm just punching, and you just see the vines going out. And he's just knocking him, and you see that health bar going down. I was like, oh, okay, this is how he plays.
So that
interesting.
kind of another question I have, like they call this a third person hero shooter, right? Like how much on the scale between shooter and say MOBA does this land? Does it land like close to like a Call of Duty, Valorant, Overwatch side of things, or does like your aim not as much matter and cover and all that, and it's more like a MOBA, like you know, like
Oh
your
no, it
snipe
matters.
or
Yeah, it's more shooter, definitely.
Because
very-
There's some
So-
melee characters, but I mean, just like in Overwatch, but it's just almost every character has some main ranged attack. So that's why it's shooter-esque.
the
And it felt-
healers. Go ahead.
and it felt like very much like a shooter game rather than or when you have third person action games like adventure games and you have shots like that. Did it feel more like that or more like a shooter but you're just in third person, like a Gears of War kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say that it feels Gears of War-ish in that, you have a reticle and the way that your character follows that
Yeah.
and your attacks.
I mean, there was only a
Accuracy.
few hit scan type characters, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And I mean, Overwatch is kind of the same way too, right? I mean, you have like like Soldier, and a couple other characters where you can do that. Otherwise, then you have characters like Hanzo and Genji that are much more like precise. And I mean, you had that in here, like playing as even Scarlet Witch. I mean, you had her one little burn down, but who am I thinking of? Storm, actually. Wasn't Storm much more of a kind of a precise?
Storm
Yeah.
is a projectile. Her and Hela are really similar, but for whatever
Yeah.
reason, Hela was stupid strong and Storm
Yeah.
wasn't.
Hella strong. Ha, 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 ha.
Oh.
Yeah, she's hella strong. But those
welcome,
two,
Marvel.
their attacks are fairly similar.
Storm.
Can fly.
That was. I would just fly as high as I could go, which was pretty dang high at Storm, and just hover over the battlefield. And her like regular melee is like wind blade or whatever, so she cuts the wind, and just like a blade of wind goes down and hits them. And then her other melee is a lightning bolt. So I would like, and the lightning bolt is, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not super dexterous.
Yeah, you gotta be accurate with it.
You
It's
got to
tough
be
do.
like, if
It's
the
almost like a
lightning bolt
sniper.
hit, it hit hard, and then you could just wind blade them down.
Yeah.
But her ult too was where
Oh.
she becomes like a
It was awesome.
tornado, and you kind of like pick the area, like how in Overwatch where any like Doomfist or Sigma or any of those characters, you pick the AOE where the attack is going to
Yeah.
hit. You pick where her tornado is going to land, and it just like descends and just starts wiping people out. One of my favorite.
Hers was
ultimates.
my favorite ultimate, and it's not in like she is the tornado, so it's
Yeah.
not like you're sending.
Yeah.
It's not like you're sending. So the problem with that is that if you don't kill everyone, you're right there in the
I'm saying
middle
then
of
it
everybody
ends,
when
and
then
the
you're
ultimate
trapped.
ends, and then you're dead. But it is so cool to see.
Yeah, the other cool thing I liked about her was she even had the mechanic almost of Lucio, where you're
Beat
rather
up
than
and
do like
damage.
your heal and your speed, she was speed and then boost damage, and it was an AOE of your teammates around you. But then, like you kind of mentioned, Matt, if you went kind of on the battlefield and you could see the circle on the ground, if an enemy went into that circle, just randomly a lightning bolt every once in a while would hit them. But if you ascended up
I didn't
higher,
even see that.
if you went up higher, that circle would get smaller because you were further away from the ground. So it
Interesting.
enticed you to stay low, but still wanted to hover. So if enemies walked into
Got it.
that circle, they were just randomly getting hit. But then, of course, you don't want to stay too low because then you're more vulnerable. And it was just, I don't know, it was just crazy.
Swapping between her boost to the people on the field, you could also switch to like a boost to her. So it was like swap between when I would see that, like, oh, my teammates are getting picked off, let me go ahead and swap the boost to myself so my lightning bolts can get a little bit more damage. That was a really cool thing. And it's the whole premise of it is like changing the weather in the area. So it was like the winds would pick up or, something like that, which I would be stoked to see other environmental effects like that take place.
Yeah.
Give me some more.
One character I want to mention before we get into some other ones was Loki. You had mentioned Loki earlier. Did you guys really look into his kit that much? Because
I never actually played him, but
Dude, I watched, I just didn't know really what his kit was all about. I just kept seeing these clones on the battlefield. And then I watched the video. I don't know who the person was that made the video, but like essentially what it was with Loki, his whole thing is he has his staff, and you shoot it, and it either does damage or it heals, and it's a ranged heal that you can do. But then you throw the clones down. You can have up to 2 clones down on the field at once. You put one down. It was on like maybe a 9 or 10 second cooldown. Put the other one down. At any point, you can jump between the clones. And so a lot of times what good Loki players were doing was they were dropping those clones and then not moving. And whatever you as the player were pointing at, those other 2 clones would point as well. So you're either doing triple the healing or triple the damage. And
That's
then
disgusting.
So dude, it was like if you got a good Loki player, they were just dominating. Like it was insane. Like I mean, I would always just shoot the clones and burn them down, but almost by that point immediately they had another clone ready and they were just dropping it. And then if they just mimic the clones and just kind of stand there and don't act like a player, you couldn't tell who they were, and at any point they could jump in and escape. And then I think when I played him, I was actually using controller. His left trigger, you just go invisible and like kind of come out of your body. And when you do that, it actually leaves a clone in your place, but you don't leave invisibility until you fire your staff again. So you could even toss a clone and still be invisible.
Kind of Sombra-esque.
Yeah, kind of. But it was just like, I thought that was I've never played a character like that, where it's like you're dropping these clones and then you can do either double if it's only you and one of your clones, or triple the healing. So I could just see down the line, there's going to be Loki players that are just like the ultimate support characters. Like
it's kind of like in the Mirror Watch event in Overwatch when you the change they made to Bastion. Where in his ult, it's Bastion, right? In his ult,
he dropped the little guys.
The little guys would come up and they'd start spawning everywhere, and you'd have to deal with them. Like it was just the annoyance of having to kill those, because if not, they were like Sombra turrets, and like they would wear down on you.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Yeah, if you didn't take those clones out, like I said, whatever the player points at, those clones are pointing at as well. So if they're doing damage pointing at you as a tank or you as a DPS, like you also have not only the player but 2 clones also shooting at you. So it just, I don't know, it was pretty odd. I was like, man, that's pretty well thought out. Like whoever came up with that character, it's a very unique character.
I was about to say, it seems really unique to me, and I know that we have and will continue to compare it to Overwatch, but that just sounds like its own thing. And I think that there are some characters, I didn't play him, but I know like hearing you play him and watching some stuff like Namor, like I don't think you can compare Namor to
Dude, he's fun.
an Overwatch hero. Some of these characters, yes, they do use, they pick from Overwatch kits and kits from other games. Like Punisher has like from Apex Legends, like the Pathfinder
zip line,
you can do. So it's like, they're pulling from stuff, but some of it truly is unique and it's cool to see.
It's like the best of both worlds. Like they know their audience. They're like, we're gonna get you in with these things that you know and love, like plus Marvel. And what am I trying to say? It's like that they play the games in the space.
Yeah.
And it's just like give you just enough familiarity, but then like introduce the ability of Namor to throw a giant whale.
He just drops a whale on people's heads. That's his ult. It's just a whale, dude. And it literally
killer whale.
We were talking about the circles. That's what it is. You hit it and then you just move the circle where you want, then you hit the button and just this giant whale just falls from the sky. Just
and you
I got killed as Storm with a whale in the sky. Like
you just hear this like gong go off, like, or I guess like foghorn or whatever it was. You just hear, and then you'd be like, crap. There's a whale. Coming. There's a whale coming.
And dude, his kit
saying that sentence out loud, it was just like, where's the whale? Where's the whale?
His kit was he would drop 2 turrets that you had that you could drop. There were like these little like octopi, I guess, or octopus, whatever you want to call, and they would just be shooting things at him. And then he had his spear that he would throw, which was like your right click. And then, or I guess it'd be on PC, your left click or your right trigger on controller. But then his left he would take another spear and like swing it and throw it. And wherever he threw it, your little turrets would aim at that spot. So kind of similar to like Loki, where they would do the, aim at whatever you're hitting. It was only on that spear, but like you could quickly, like a lot of times I would just be kind of staying back and just like lobbing those turrets as far as I could. And just anytime I had a turret available, I was just throwing another one. And then every once in a while you just throw that spear and like hit the tank and then they would focus down the tank.
What was that ability of his where he like surrounds himself with water.
That was
in the air?
basically like the Mei like ice block.
Gotcha.
But the thing in Overwatch is Mei heals. Namer doesn't heal in that. So that's the one thing I would say kind of sucked, because you would get like bum rushed, and he would do that, and he basically rises up in the air and like encapsulates himself in like this shield ball of water, but then you're not healing or anything, and then the team just takes you
It's
down.
pretty
And it's pointless.
impervious to attack too, because like I'd try and I almost never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'd try and attack a Scarlet Witch and drain his abilities. You can probably infer what I was going to say. Brain moving faster than my mouth. But like it wouldn't do any damage to him up in the sky, even though it's like I had a perfect stream connecting to him.
Yeah, I mean you're invincible, but that's, I didn't get that. I'm like, what is the point? Like I could see maybe if you could become invincible and then move to kind of get yourself to safety, because you're kind of like hovering there. But no, I mean it literally, you'd be on the ground and you hover up in the air, like, hey everybody,
Stationary.
here I am in this invulnerable shield. Just wait till I die. Where at least in Overwatch with Mei, you do that, and yes, you can't move, but you're healing. So at least when you come out of it, you can quickly pop a wall up again, or as him, you could at least maybe quickly throw a spear or throw down a turret, whatever. But you couldn't.
Was it set while you were in that kind of invulnerability sphere, or could you come out of it early, like how you can?
I think you could cancel it. Yeah, you could cancel it. A lot of the abilities, they would let you do that. You could cancel it early if you wanted. Did either one of you play as either Spider-Man or Black Panther?
Played as
No.
Spider-Man for one game, and I was,
was
like,
scared
this
of
is
them.
Not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that's something that could, I mean, they're definitely high tier, high skill gap type characters. Like, you need to really
There's
figure
just so
those
much
kits
going
out.
on. Like,
But,
Yeah.
I don't know. That
Like,
kind of disappointed me. I was like,
truly-
man, I want to play Spider-Man, but like, I'm just not good.
It's like if I were scared of a tracer. Like I'm not scared of Tracer. I think tracers are annoying. But like Spider-Man, like I would run from him. Because it's like, no, please. And shout out to I started following him the other week because he was playing these games. Streamer on Twitch, Jordy Goes Rar. He was a content creator for Marvel Rivals. And just like the way that he described it, it's like Black Panther is kind of like your worst nightmare. It's like you see a Black Panther coming towards you. It's like walking down the street at midnight down a dark alley and someone's coming down, to see you, because it's like they're so fast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I compare Black Panther to kind of like the Genji.
The Genji, I was going to say, he's the Genji of this game.
But
Definitely.
I don't even know much of what his kit did because he was so fast, and I would just be dead, and it'd just be like, I don't even know what he did.
He looked badass too. That was one character in that game that just looked
That
so
unlockable skin, that like
good,
dark
dude.
red Dora Milaje, like Black Panther. Whoo!
I think his kit
Cosmetics.
was he could lunge, I think maybe twice, and then he had that spear. So a lot of times it seemed like they would open up with the spear to kind of hit you and then like lunge at you, and then he had even like this like weird kick that he lunged forward. So that's the thing. I mean, he was almost like a tracer in the sense that he was just like over here and then boom. You just couldn't ever really focus on him, because if it was a good Black Panther, you were down. And I when the alpha first opened, like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Black Panther, he sucks. He's too squishy." Like some people figured him out, and when they figured him out, like
I got dominated.
You
by
knew
Black
it.
Panther one game.
Yeah,
Like,
he was
they
just-
were just all over me.
yeah.
I was most of the time when I was playing a Scarlet Witch, I was getting followed by Spider-Man. Like they would, because Spider-Man is a huge diver, and they would just dive back and kill me as either Scarlet Witch or when I was heals. I played mostly as Luna, a little bit as Rocket, but Spider-Man was just like hunting the backline and just like taking no prisoners.
What did you guys think of Star-Lord? Did you get in with him at all?
Played a couple games. I couldn't really make him work. I didn't give it enough time, but he seems really cool.
What I found with him was he has basically like his, what do you want to say, rocket boots, where he kind of flies in. So I found I would be successful where I would kind of get around to the side a little bit, see where I could get like the tank and maybe a DPS kind of grouped up, then fly in. And then immediately one of his abilities is where he kind of does like it almost looks like into the Spider-Verse, where it's like kind of, you know, choppy and he's kind of moving around. He does like
so
a couple
cool.
flips and like
Yeah.
shoot. So you kind of usually with that move could get those people down to like half health. And then twice you can burn down both of his guns, and then he does like this little like spin, and when you come out of it, he's already reloaded. So you do that, burn him down, do it again, burn him down, and then he has another like flip kick where he gets out, and then that's when I would quickly get out. So once I kind of figured out that little combo, that was when it was working. But the problem
What I
was
missing was the reload.
when you try to fly in as, you know, like that initial where you're kind of boosting in if they see you coming. Like at that point, you just got to back down because it's like they see me coming. If they're focusing on me, I'm done. But there was the one map where you were moving the payload. Like there was a couple games with him where we just stopped them at the door. Like they weren't even able to get out. Like they basically were trying to come out, and I just literally just kept flying in, doing that move, boom, 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 and getting out. And then even Hulk, I had a match with Hulk, like I described earlier, where I was like leaping in, doing that, just leaping out. Like they just never even really got to the payload because they were just constantly being stopped at that door. I don't know. It was kind of
I
crazy.
truly apologize to those listening to the podcast because you're missing out on all these money, like
Incredible hand
physical,
movements.
like Mark's physical demonstrations of all this. Like
He's actually doing flips in his
you
room.
I
could,
just
you could
did it.
charge admission for this.
Right behind me, I have the shield and the Iron Man mask. I should go put them both on and get my.
Mark's been in a suit of
Ooh.
armor this entire time.
Fusion.
So one thing we haven't talked about, kind of going to your point of it made spawn camping a little bit more interesting, is the destructibility of the environments and how you could literally just like destroy platforms, destroy buildings all together and make a level playing field if you got trapped somewhere, which I, for one, like because I don't like to spawn camp the few times that I'm in a position to do it, and I really don't like it when it happens to me.
Yeah,
'Cause like, guys, let me play. Come on.
I
didn't
would.
really notice like much. Just me, I didn't notice much from the destructible environments. I thought it was cool, but like when it would happen, it would just kind of happen. Like I want to
Yeah.
know more of kind of like the strategy. Yeah, kind of like what I was talking about a little bit with the Groot wall. Like there would be like okay, let's shoot this thing down on top of this so they can't get through. But then like a lot of the characters could fly, so I can just fly over it, or just walk around it, or jump over it. You know, it didn't really like. There was one time whenever like there were some whatever that I thought this map was horrible. Whatever the map is where it's like it's kind of like you're in a building and it's a control point, but it's like layered and there's like a big pole in the middle.
Yes,
like a
dude,
circle.
that's the map
I
where
hated
I
that map.
hated it. Absolutely.
But there were
hated it.
some enemies. I was playing as Hela, and I knew that they were above me, and I just would like I was like shot the floor out, and then
Oh,
and then
okay. I
they-
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Then they left, and I couldn't get to them. But I was
But then
like,
it would
"Oh,
just
this could be
like
cool, and then it comes back.
Yeah, and then it comes back, and then it's just gone
It
immediately. Like
respawns.
Ken's and I were laughing, like because basically, let's put it this way: I was playing on like the minimalist settings possible with where my PC is, and Ken's was at like the top tier. But yet, like the way that the destruction, I don't know if it was like the overlay over it or the way it just looked bad, and I couldn't tell if it was because my computer was like just barely getting by, like running this thing. And Ken's was like, no, he's like, it looks exactly the same on my PC.
It looks awful. I thought it was like Loki magic. Like before I knew like
Same.
what Loki did, like I was like, oh, Loki's like making a wall right there. I'm like,
I
no,
thought
that's
that was
just
an
the wall
ability of his.
respawning.
I mean,
It was
I
absolutely everything destructible, or is
Not
it just
everything.
certain walls?
just certain walls, I think.
Yeah, there's actually a button you could push that I didn't know that will show you everything that's destructible.
In the
Yeah.
in the tutorial they showed you on the keyboard. I think it was like B, so just some random button. But I'm like, I'm in the heat of combat. Like I'm not gonna go in. Like I'm sure when this game gets to the point where we have ranked play and we're actually playing competitive, they're doing tournaments and things like that, you're gonna have teams that are going in and maybe they will get to the strategy of using the
so.
destruction.
Yeah.
I don't ever see myself really getting on that, other than like that map that was horrendous. It was like, let's just get in there, destroy that platform, so I can be Iron Man and hover over the top
Let's
and just
just
keep
get
dropping
rid of
bombs.
this map
And then as
by
soon as it comes up, we're
destroying
gonna
it.
destroy it again, just so I can drop bombs on people. Like that was
There are
all.
also
yeah.
some things like there were hidden health packs inside rooms that you didn't
Oh.
know were rooms. If you just like destroyed an outer
Okay.
wall, it'd be like a recessed area and there'd be like a health pack there. And then in Odin's chamber, where I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, like his pod where he's like in the Odin sleep or whatever. Um, Off to the side there was a room where you could see Stormbreaker like trapped behind a wall and it was trying to
interesting.
like bang its way out. But you had to
That's
like
cool.
destroy those walls to get into that chamber to see stuff. So
Yeah.
it was cool seeing little Easter eggs, and I would be interested to see like what other things they would try and hide.
Well, what was cool too, man. I mean, just that you could tell these people are fans of Marvel, not only because of little Easter eggs like that, but even the skins. So, in the alpha we had some like really kind of epic skins and some that were just recoloring. But every single one, like when you went to that menu, it showed you this is from issue blah blah blah. It kind of tell you where those costumes were from, which is just a little touch, a little thing, but it's like that's kind of neat. And even when we were going through the was it Galactus Pass? Is that what they were calling it? Or Galactus Journey, whatever the quote unquote battle pass was in this. Like you would unlock a tier, and then the next tier would unlock a little tiny lore bit from Galacta, and she would talk. And you could read it or whatever. And then, once you unlock that, you still had, I think in the past they had in the alpha, there was 3 of those. So I could see down the line, they could expand the story of this game just through the battle pass by you unlocking those little bits.
I have a lot of questions
cool.
about Galacta. She's the teenage daughter of Galactus, and like the last little lore dump you get, she's like peppy, like teenage, like TikToker vibe. And I don't know, like the last little bit, she's like, yeah, my dad says I need to get ready to start eating worlds, but my appetite's not that big, whatever. And it's like, I'm so like, there's a lot here that needs to be asked, but
I'm sure
I don't know if that'll get
I'm sure they're ready to deliver it for you. One thing we didn't talk about, I mean, we've kind of just as we've been discussing it, but just the idea of this game being more vertical than like an Overwatch. I mean, there are heroes that they just fly. Like, I mean, Iron Man just constantly fly. You can't even step foot on the ground as Iron Man. Like, you can go all the way down, but you're still hovering just a couple inches above. You cannot walk as Iron Man. So there are heroes that are constantly in the air. So as a player who plays games like Overwatch and that, it just totally you have to change your mindset because you have to start looking up. And not only like some games, you're looking behind you, you're now looking behind you and looking behind you and up. Because there were a lot of times, like a Spider-Man especially, or there was even moments where an Iron Man would get behind you. Because as Iron Man, you can burst and fly fast, get behind them, quickly stop yourself, turn around and just unload, bombs down on their heads or whatever. I mean, it's total mindset change.
In that map that we all hate, I was Scarlet Witch, and there was I don't know if it was a bug or if he's just this quiet, that there was an Iron Man chasing me that entire match, a Scarlet Witch, and he would get behind me and unibeam me. And I wouldn't even hear it. And all of a sudden I'd be dead. And the kill cam would like swoop around and I'd see him like turning off his unibeam. And I was like, oh, huh?
Great.
I didn't even, how did I, what?
Well, Neil,
you guys
you have to
mentioned
say
that
what else you got?
before, just with the verticality, these maps that they came out, I don't know how many there were, but did you find a lot of them just had like open ceiling, like it was open outside and like you could have people fly up pretty far? Or were there, I know that sound like that one map that's in a building, it did have ceilings, right? So that kind of limited the flying around.
Yeah,
How did that do?
I mean, it did, but it was still high though. Like, I mean, you could get pretty high.
You did
in most
reach
of
a
the maps.
limit.
Yeah, but you would hit kind of a skybox up there. But
like in the city, like you couldn't go above, like you couldn't even go near the top of the skyline. Like you couldn't go to like the top of the buildings. You would reach like a certain cap. So it wasn't like insanely far, but there were some characters who couldn't touch me as Storm.
But there was one cool thing too they did was those maps that did have higher like rooftops, let's say, where like someone like a Storm could go up and could technically land or be up almost on that rooftop. There was jump pads around as well.
Lots of jump pads.
So you could be Star-Lord, who can't really get up there. He can't climb because like Spider-Man can climb, Penny Parker, Rocket can actually climb up walls. You could just, as Star-Lord, go over and hit that jump pad and get yourself up there. So they still at least put things like that in the game, which were kind of neat. So we were able to, utilize that verticality. But I mean, for me, like I never climbed as Rocket. I never needed to like really scale a wall. I never even like, maybe I could have and stood on a rooftop and kind of dumped down my heals. The only time I ever was really up high as Rocket was when I was like following a Punisher on that one map with the pole in the middle, because he would just, you'd kind of go up those stairs and then come out and you were up there and you could either choose to go down or just kind of stay where there wasn't where the destruction wouldn't bring you down. And a lot of times the Punisher would just stand up there just shooting down. So I was like, okay, I'll just stand here and keep dropping my team up beacon down so he can just like constantly be unloading down there. So that was kind of weird too. Like, it's cool those characters have those climbing abilities, but with how fast the game is, I don't know how often that was ever really utilized by anybody. Did you guys ever do that? Like, did you ever climb as Rocket or even Spider-Man?
No,
like, just find yourself.
I know it was an
achievement.
If you I think it was like 200 feet climbing, you could get like a spray or something like that.
Okay.
But I never did it because I was like, I don't have the precious time to do that.
It's gotta go.
Not like, and I don't feel like it was as friendly as like Lucio wall riding.
Yeah, no. It slowed you down. Like Lucio, like it just flows. Like everything when you wall ride as Lucio, it just, I know it's part of your movement. Where it always seemed like whenever I would try to climb as Rocket, I slowed down. Yeah, and like was like slowly climbing, and I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Where instead I'll just stay backline and just keep dumping my heals.
Or use his burst to just like throw myself forward even more.
Like the Venture, another Overwatch.
I didn't experience it myself, but I saw some complaints about how like map design didn't really favor the climbing characters, and that you would try to you can climb anywhere, but you go to climb a wall and there'd be like a window sticking out, and
right, a ledge or something,
like a ledge, and it's like the maps really weren't designed for those characters that can climb, and so it was kind of a bummer for some people that would try to climb and then get hit by something.
I really wanted to climb in this game, and it's not, the game is not climber friendly at all.
It's not for me.
One of the characters that I played a lot of was Luna Snow, she was original character in Marvel Future Fight, which was a Netmarble mobile game, and her whole shtick is she's a K-pop singer turned superhero that has ice powers, like half black ice, half light ice. I don't know. And so it's kind of like think two different type of abilities like Moira. And so her heals, she's a support in this game. Her heals were throwing ice shards. Kind of like how you shoot with Ana. If you hit an ally, it heals them. If you hit an enemy, it does damage, right?
Nice.
And then she has like a snowball you could throw, and forget what else. But like that was when I had a lot of trouble with, because it's kind of like if you were, instead of like throwing the healing things as Kiriko, you were trying to heal with throwing her daggers. And your boy ain't, I already said not the best with accuracy, but her ultimate was pretty sick, where it's like this stage forms beneath her of ice, and it's kind of like like Zenyatta's healing. You can swap between healing or boosting the damage of your team. So like Mercy, for like I don't know how long, like 10, 15 seconds. But I think that was the best healer ult in the game.
Yeah, so on that, I see that they have different names for them here. They're called strategists, I guess, as a support kind of role. Is that a thing? So in this game, is it very much strategists, healing is a big part of it, or is it kind of like, supports, you could throw up shields, or you can do like movement ability based, like utility versus straight healers? How does that land with this game? I
mean, I would say you need healers. They're healers. They're not really
heals.
I mean, there was the little things you could do, like I said, Rocket with the Punisher team up. But he also had an ability where he could throw down this beacon. So think of like a Mercy res. So he would just drop it down, and as long as the person died kind of within range of that, they just automatically rezzed at that point. So you had little gadgets like that would kind of support, but it was really, you needed to be healing, because, just like in Overwatch, if you don't have a healer, you're done. You're going to go down. So, I mean, there was some matches where you could get away, I think, with one tank there were some matches where I was just playing Magneto and I was the only tank, and we had like 3 DPS or 3 duelists and 2 of the what are they called? What's the other name? The supports? Strategists. 2 strategists.
Tanks or vanguards, I think.
You could get away with that, but there were some matches where if it was like 2 vanguards and let's say 3 duelists and only 1 strategist, I mean, you were having to put in the work. Like, it was tough trying to get those heals out.
Does it seem like all the strategists, like their primary fire, secondary fire, they have heals?
Yeah.
Yeah, very very balanced between like, it wasn't like, oh, their healing ability is like OP and they need a damage ability, so let's give them something. It was very balanced. Basically like right hand this, left hand that.
Yeah. And some not even. Like, I mean, Loki is just, here's your primary fire. If you're shooting an enemy, it does damage. If you're shooting your ally, it heals. That's it. Where Rocket, you're like purposely making the choice. It's either he has a little gun that just like, I'm trying to think of a character to compare. Almost like a Maga. Think of a Maga gun, how like if you just shoot one of Maga's guns, it damages him, but it doesn't really burn him down that quick. That's his kind of his alt fire, but then his primary, which is his heal, are these like burst balls that he shoots out, and it's almost like I don't know, this kind of AOE ball that if it will bounce around. So if someone's up in the air, you can shoot it and bounce it off the wall, and it just kind of moves around and it's healing them, and you can just keep like constantly, like every, I don't know, maybe second and a half, like dump one of those out. You're just constantly shooting those. So that's all I was doing as him, was basically just sitting there, just constantly just shooting those and just kind of jumping around. And he had a dash too, so you can kind of like dash out of the way real quick if somebody got on you quick. Kind of like how Venture has her,
the other support.
Her charge.
Yeah.
Who was the other?
Matt asked who the other support was. It's Mantis.
Oh, Mantis. Yeah, I didn't play Mantis once.
I played Mantis, and can we be real? The stickest alternate skin in the entire game.
The one that was in the battle pass?
Cool.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah, it was sweet. It really was sweet.
I played a little bit of her, and I think her difficulty was a little bit higher, but I could not be effective as her.
Yeah.
To the point someone asked me to swap, and I was like, I get it. Yeah, I will.
That's funny.
Thanks, but we could really use the heals.
Any other questions, Neil, you got for us? I mean, I know we've just been kind of going on and on here, not I guess getting you involved as much, but you got anything that...
I think it sounds pretty fun, and I think those team-ups really give another level to team comps, right? Like, you know, you have those meta comps for Overwatch, like dive, poke, whatever, but if you get a team of 5 and everyone's got like a link with one of the other players, and that kind of gives you like mini groups to play with too, right? As you said, Rocket and Punisher, you want to always be stuck together. If you got like another 2 that kind of hang out, and then you got someone else, it just seems like that's another level to the team comp aspect,
right, to the meta.
And you know, having a whole team of Guardians would be a lot of fun too.
There was also an effect for Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and someone else.
It was a 3-person. Well, I was going to ask you, what was it? I would see that pop up, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I saw it pop up a couple times. It's crazy.
That's wild.
My main concern with the team up stuff is that I think that, and maybe this will get better as they add more team ups, but for now, you know, it's alpha, so whatever, you know, and you have really limited options. But like, if you're running competitive, I can't imagine why you wouldn't run Magneto and Scarlet Witch, and just because of the damage output that's going to be, and why your other tank wouldn't be, you know, Groot and Rocket, so that you can have an invincible Groot, you know, and it's like you're going to be pigeonholed into these team up abilities, and I don't think that that's super good for the game. But as it grows and there's more and more options, maybe it gets better. But for right now, it's a cool thing. But I see it, you know, if you're trying to win, you're gonna pick the same thing every time.
Yep. That's what I was thinking too, man. That it really pigeonholes you right into, hey, this is the meta that we have to run because we need to have that damage or whatever it is. That could definitely be problematic if you're looking to make the game competitive and have tournaments and all that stuff. Then you're just getting boring matches because it's the same match every single time, you know.
Because I don't know if you guys ran into this, because a lot of the teams for matches would be the same because, just like you said, Magneto, Scarlet Witch, whatever. And so you'd hear, everybody has like, you know, this their signature line they yell out when they ult. And when Scarlet Witch would ult, hers is pure chaos. And so you'd hear pure chaos, pure, like it just like happening subsequently.
Yeah.
Again, it's alpha, so like they've probably only got a few voice lines in there right now. But that was one thing with Overwatch that's neat, is that they don't say the same line every single time. You know, that they have a couple different ones, but you hear the voice and you hear that it's the tone, and that's an ultimate that's happening. You know, whenever it doesn't matter what they say.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like in this game, it's like everyone has one thing that they say every time, and when you played it for quite a bit, it just gets kind of annoying.
Yeah. And you know what though, they did add though for some story bits was like in Overwatch how the characters talk to each other in the pregame.
They have that too, and that's awesome.
They did that in this, and even Matt, you pointed out, I heard it like again after I think it was somebody was talking to Magneto, and he mentions like Krakoa, so they're keeping current with the current comics. We're not talking Magneto, 20 years ago. This is current where we are. Which, dude, that's the one thing about this game that excites me is like they did it with Marvel Heroes, the Diablo style game that was out, and then it was even on consoles. Marvel Heroes Omega. When like Ant-Man came out, they had like a whole Ant-Man co-marketing or whatever, and I could see them doing that with this. Every MCU thing that comes out, put skins obviously and all that, but they could put probably even little voice lines and things like that in the game. I don't know. It's just kind of
give me a Founders pack for $40. I'll buy it.
So I feel like I'm throwing out all my cons now, but with like the store, my wish list for the store, ultimately what I want from my pipe dream from NetEase is that that's free to play, that heroes are not paid.
Yes.
That you don't have to pay for heroes, pay for the battle pass, but I hope that they do the thing that Halo and Helldivers has done, where you can keep the battle pass and work on whichever one you want, or even kind of what Overwatch has recently done, where the skins towards the end of the battle pass, the mythic skin or whatever you want to call it, they stay around, and you can still work towards those in some way. So it's like there's just incentive to keep coming back. It's like I don't like the FOMO, the fear of missing out, that I don't want to be kind of preyed upon in that way to make sure that I get something before it leaves. I don't think that feels good at all.
Especially if it's something you paid money. Like if I paid my $10, like let me keep the pass. Let me work on it. I may not be able to work on it as quick as other people, but at least let me
I'll
be able to work on it.
I'll pay for it. And you're gonna get my money.
Let me give you money.
I will give you money, and then let me do it at my own pace, and then I'll give you more money later. And I'm sure that there's all types of business models to say that makes way less money than the FOMO strategy, which is why they keep doing it. But that's just what I don't want to have to miss out on heroes because I don't want to pay $15 and then see cool stuff happening and I don't get to do it.
I think the part of the strategy with the FOMO thing is like they want to keep their numbers up all the time. They want you to play, they don't want you to forget about the game, right? Like, oh, you bought the pass, so you better be logging in every day, and oops, you're addicted.
Yeah,
now you're here. You might as well spend some money and all that stuff. I'd like to see them bring back loot boxes, and you can get those with in-game currency. I miss that from Overwatch. Like, you play a little bit. Oh, you get a loot box. Let's just see what kind of cosmetics I get. Like, I don't really care. Once they got rid of that, and same thing with Heroes of the Storm, it's just like, well, I'm not going to just be spending money on skins, so I guess I don't get skins anymore.
We agree with you.
Very different methodologies on that.
Well, yeah, because I'm kind of like the loot boxes are neat, but like then you're getting stuff that you don't want. Like, you have a character like we just said Mantis. We couldn't figure out. We don't like as of right now coming out of the alpha. We don't like Mantis. My luck, I would get Mantis stuff in every single loot box. And then I would be questioning, like, well, wait a minute, are they like doing this just to make me play Mantis? And it's like, let me pay for what I want because I want to give you money. Like, I want these skins. What they just showed us in this closed alpha looked amazing. Some of those ones, like, I will pay for these. Just give me that option to do that. Don't make me play the gambling. Pull that roulette wheel or that slot machine. I don't want to do that. I would rather get what I want. And you mentioned Ken's. I think a cool way to do it would be to make all the heroes free. and you have like that basic skin for that hero. And then if you buy, let's say, the battle pass, you unlock, you know, a cooler skin or whatever, like by just buying the battle pass, and then you can work your way towards, because the, you know, whoever it is, Wolverine just came out. By the end, then you get like this epic Wolverine skin kind of at the end, and you know, maybe the whole pass doesn't have to be all Wolverine, but like I could see them doing that, like theming the passes around. Okay, if you can play as Wolverine and you're just basic Wolverine, but if you buy the pass for him, you're unlocking all the cool little things that you can get because this is the season for him or whatever it is.
I think that was, and that's what they did with this battle pass. It was Mantis. It was 3.
Iron Man was in there, I know.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4
Scarlet
different
Witch.
heroes. It's like do
Scarlet Witch
that
at the end, right?
every season. Yeah. And just pick, you know, X amount of heroes, and you got a spray, a player icon, and then a skin for each of those 4 characters.
Yeah.
That's all I need. I don't need other, you know, like crappy stuff.
But then the battle passer and kind of like ranking up gave you currency in the alpha
Right.
to get skins with, and so that's all
Which was
probably
nice.
temporary, and that'll end up being probably real money. But if they have a way to you know, to earn the currency in the game, and obviously it would take way longer, you know, than
Yeah.
if you were to just buy it. But to have that option, I think is really important. Who knows if we'll get that? But
Now the cool thing they did too, they had little achievements for each of the heroes, so I could see that too. Is like,
oh, that's right.
that's how you're
you would earn the
slow. That's
currency.
how you're earning the
Yeah.
currency, or even earning specific skins. And I mean, they even had it in the game, like sprays and things like that for the characters. So it's like, you know, oh, you killed 5 people with your Magneto bomb or whatever. Like you get the this cooler Magneto spray or this extra Magneto spray. I could see them doing that for the free. You know, if you don't want to buy any of this stuff, that's fine. Like, play the hell out of this character, and we're going to reward you for reaching all these milestones with this character. And then that's when you're unlocking the different skins and all that. And that's a way to show off how good you are with that character, or that you've invested into that character. I think that's a great way for them to do it.
Didn't they have something similar with the Marvel Avengers game? There's like a hero card or something.
did, yeah.
You could buy it, and then you can unlock specific things for that hero.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
People-
basically a battle
hated
pass.
it, and people hated it.
Well, because the skins in that game were atrocious.
They were. I mean, I'm not defending.
96% of those skins were horrible recolors.
They were.
Of
Yeah.
the same, you'd have like 10 of the same skin in like all these disgusting hues, and it'd be like, I'm not ever going to use a single one of these. But I'm a completionist, and so that's my toxic trait.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going a little bit long here, guys, but let's do something fun here to kind of wrap it up. Let's all pick a hero we want to see added to the game. And this could even be, there have been some, let's say, data mined heroes that people have found. So even if it's one of those, you can go ahead and throw one of those out. But pick a hero that you want in the game. Let's pick either a map even, and then either like a map mechanic or some sort of game mode, something like that you want in the game. So who wants to go first?
I've got one. I'm just thinking about, like, I obviously I didn't play. I don't know what all the game modes are and stuff like that. But you kind of mentioned it, and I don't know if he's announced or not. But my thought is, obviously, I want to have Wolverine there.
It's just
and
a matter of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and get more, X-Men, hot off the heels of me getting right into that X-Men TV show series that just came out.
97.
What would his kit be? What would you want his kit to be?
I think he'd be something similar to, and again, I haven't seen it, but like you're talking about Black Panther, jumping around, very agile, kind of like a Genji, running through, brawler type, pretty hard to kill.
That passive heal on him.
Passive heal. I'd like to see a team up, maybe like a Colossus.
Colossus,
right?
yes. I was waiting for it.
Get thrown through guys and rip through. And then I'm thinking of like an opposite of a team up. It's like a nemesis. And if you got a Magneto on the other team, he can come up to you and just like totally tear you apart.
Cool idea that
Like
would
a
be.
like a
Rip all the adamantium
vulnerability.
out of your body.
Yeah,
What
fatality.
if,
You're done.
Oh, dude, I love that idea. What if like the nemesis ability was if you counter someone on the other team, it like you basically have the option of 2 different ults. So as Magneto, you would have his typical ult. He rises up, throws the big, bomb down. But if there's a Wolverine on the other team and you're able to somehow single him out, pop your ult, then you're pulling the adamantium out of his body.
It might take a little bit longer to charge, or it might, you know.
There's something with that,
Nemesis
but it's
idea is really cool.
I like
some
that
type
a
of,
lot.
Because just as you hear like team up, you'd hear like Nemesis.
Right.
Like, but it only triggered like once you saw them.
Well, yeah,
It
once you
wouldn't
see them and
happen
know,
at
yeah.
the start of the match. Yeah. I think it'd
Wow.
be really cool to see him with like think like Genji's speed slash meeting Orissa's spear. So like there were an ability where you could like nail them to the wall with his claws.
Ooh.
Like
That'd be
bummer.
sweet,
You had to be
yeah.
like within a certain amount of distance from them to just like pound them up against the wall with like your claws through their chest into the wall. Might be a bit graphic. I don't know.
Matt,
He
who
could
you
be
got?
another climber too.
Oh.
He could like put his
Yeah.
claws in the wall.
Ooh,
Still-
yeah. So how do I pick? I think a really cool one to see would be Doc Ock
That'd be awesome.
as a villain. And also like think about like the theming.
Is he?
Have,
Would
like,
he be a
this-
tank, a Vanguard?
If he was, then it would be some kind of mechanic where like you would be able to spin his claws like Orisa spins her spear, something like that.
Yeah,
where
like as a shield.
he
They
has
both
like a
come
big
out
shield.
and spin and like.
Yeah, he'd be able to pick up like pieces of like rubble and debris and like chuck them, or
Yeah. Oh,
like
dude. Yeah, grab
shoot
it
out
around
like a
his-
like a Groot arm, but like yank them towards you or something like the hook from
Yeah, Roadhog.
what's his face? Yes, thank you. But then eventually getting like to the point where you could have a whole Sinister Six lineup, and that would be your team up bonus. Be like Sinister Six.
Yeah.
You all choose like someone's Electro, someone's Scorpion.
Yeah.
Down the road, of course. For a game mode, or do you want to go to someone else with a character next?
Well, Neil didn't give us a mode, so yeah, Ken. So what about a character? Who would you want in the game? Give us a character.
So you guys know I like to play tanks,
Yeah.
and I think my main tank request would have to be Venom. Just being able to do some crazy stuff with a symbiote, eating people. Maybe he has some weird ability with his tongue. I don't know, but that's could yeah.
I would create
Sky's the
a
limit.
shield with the. He could almost be like Reinhardt with a shield, but putting up the
Yeah, he could do some
symbiote.
type of shield with the symbiote,
Sweet.
and then there could be some type of like like AOE attack with symbiote stuff. And
Yeah.
he could even have like some, I don't know if he could like shoot it out, and I don't know, I'm mainly thinking of my character that I played, but in our tabletop RPG, I don't know if Venom does that or not, but he can have like the tendrils and like, use them as like a whip or whatever. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do with the symbiote to make some type of kit.
So I'm gonna match you with that, and we're gonna create a team up because I would go with Agent Venom as Flash Thompson, and I'm gonna make him with the pistols. But I'm thinking I might almost make him kind of, because they already have this mechanic in the game as Punisher. You have your assault rifle, but then you actually have a shotgun as well. So
Right,
like in any first person shooter, you either hit Y to switch your guns or roll the wheel. So he can also be a sniper. So he can be your Widow type character that has a sniper, and he can use the tendrils to get up to high points, shoot down, and then his ult maybe is something where he has some sort of big bomb that he's able to throw down, or
Hear me out.
I don't know, man. But, I think
he
him
grows-
would be great.
He grows venom wings, rises up in the sky, and it's this huge like inky explosion
Null.
as the symbiote like
That would be awesome.
bursts out. Or even like his reload, like he doesn't have regular bullets. Like for the reload, you see like venom come off his body and form into bullets that like recharge the gun.
Cool.
That would be
That's not
great.
canon. That's just like flavor.
It would just
My
be
team-
awesome.
My deeper cut though would be Null with like the necro sword and the wings.
That would be sweet.
That'd be
like
sick.
yeah.
Just a whole symbiote. We'll have a whole
Yeah.
symbiote expansion of the game, and they just all come
Ah.
in and you have Scream and everything.
King in Black team up.
Extra skins for all the other characters.
Oh my
getting,
gosh, talk about an
Venom
event. everybody gets a Venomized
symbiote
skin. Oh my gosh.
Dude,
That's
you know it's
the
gonna happen.
The well is bottomless for that. My card is already like my pocket.
Matt's already preloaded it to the website, which you can't even do yet, but
Guys,
somehow he's found a way to do it.
Taken out
Chill
of,
out.
sir. Why do you need this $10,000 loan? What are you planning?
The payload you're moving in the game is just Matt's bank account. That's all. Every match we played, it just literally said Matt's bank account. They're just moving it
Yikes.
constantly through Asgard.
No kids yet.
What about let's talk I guess map / even game mode here. Just throw it out, Neil. A map and a game mode. Like maybe put your game mode into that map if you could come up with something.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. I was something similar to bring in like the giant heroes, right? Like a big Sentinel or Galactus or something like that. Like have that as part of the map, and maybe you have one on your team and one on the other team, and I know Overwatch tried to do something like that with the big Orisas in the couple seasons ago. I'm thinking about Heroes of the Storm. They have the Diablo map where you have Angel versus Demon kind of thing, and that pops up in the middle of the map, and you gotta kind of help take down the other side. And if you take that down, then you got the demon behind you to help kind of push your lane or whatever. Something like that would be pretty cool.
I actually want to jump in here on this one because that was kind of an idea I was having, Neil, with the Sentinel. And so I would want a map because part of the lore, kind of what's going on here in this, is some sort of like multiversal type things. So I could see Galactic creating a mirror map where it's the X Mansion on each side. And think of Overwatch, how we have the push mode. And the push mode is a Sentinel in the middle of the map. And so when you're near it, the Sentinel turns around and starts pushing towards the X Mansion, and then you bring in the destruction of however the map is, whether it's you're going through the streets of New York City or wherever it is, and there's all the chaos kind of happening there. And as you're pushing forward, the Sentinel is causing all that chaos. Everybody's fighting around the Sentinel, but when you gain control, the Sentinel turns around and starts walking again. And the object is to get to the end, and getting to the end is the Sentinel destroying the other team's X Mansion at the other end of the map. Is what that's kind of so it's putting the push mode, but then on the map that's the X-Men themed with the two different X Mansions on each side. I think would be kind of cool.
Awesome.
What about you, Matt?
Actually, Kins, you go first because I got a couple.
Okay.
And if you've got like a better idea, I don't want to step on.
Game mode wise, I'm really not sure. I mean, there's not really a zone control in the alpha, and so I think something like that would be pretty cool, where it kind of bounces around like a King of the Hill. But I've what Mark just described is really kind of like my wish list for any game that's not League of Legends, like because I love the concept of like you have a base and you just fight your way to the base, and when the base is destroyed, then that's it. Like I'd love to see something like that done in one of these hero shooter type games. So if there's a way that they could do that, I think that'd be super cool. And then location wise, I think like the Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, like I think Nowhere would be really cool. Just like do a map and like the big celestial head, or to do a map just on Ego, and it's like maybe the plant, maybe it talks to you as you're like moving a payload through a thing, or I don't know. There's like a weird, I don't know. I think it'd be really cool.
Nice.
You'd have special interaction lines if you pick Star-Lord or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I got a couple. I'll run through them quick because once I started like flowing, it was going. So first thought was these are mostly maps, and then a couple ideas for like either event games or modes, things like that. Asteroid M, and then having like an anti-gravity effect every like set amount of time. So like you're fighting across the battlefield, but like when the siren starts that you have like 2 seconds until gravity disappears, and it stays in effect for like 30 seconds or so.
So you would float at that point then, right? People kind of float?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's zero gravity. And so you'd have to know how to like bounce off of walls or platforms or things, that are up in the air. Or spend your time right before, gravity went away, like pushing things into position, something like that.
Because what if it like even I like that idea, but what if there was even something where like when it switches, it actually switches like reverses. So the mode like right now there'd be debris here on the ground.
Oh,
and all
so
the debris.
ceiling
So then
would
when it
become the
reverses,
floor.
the ceiling becomes a floor, and the whole screen can actually flip, but then all the debris and all the crates and things on the ground shift.
Go
and
easy
so
on
the,
my computer,
the actual
Mark.
battlefield
Ugh.
changes, and then it's
That'd
like
be
it just
sick.
happens every so often.
Well, kind of going to that, my next idea was for danger room mode,
Oh, that'd be
where
awesome.
it's like every indiscriminate amount of time the map switched, like the
That would be
danger
cool.
room glitched, and you're having to like fix it or whatever. So like you're pushing through, Valhalla, and then all of a sudden you're in what is it, Shibuya 2099 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They could do so much with that. It could be anything.
Yeah. another idea was for Savage Land map, and the map is slowly being destroyed because volcanoes have erupted, and you're having to get to the middle of the map. You're fighting over the cart, I guess, is actually Sauron in a cage, and when whoever like gets control of the point is able to like nullify like opposition powers or something for like 10 seconds, kind of like an on a sleep. You're able to use like Sauron's like abilities to take them over, either make them fight for you for 10 seconds, I don't know, something like that. Then my next thought was like a tower run, where it's like there's some game modes where it's like you start on floor 1 and you have to clear the whole thing all the way to the top. Have that be like Adventure's Mansion or the Baxter Building.
Yeah, those would be good for that.
That's
then
cool.
the last one was Wakanda, and you know how like on like water rides in some theme parks, along the sides of the ride for onlookers they have those like water guns that you can be like a jerk and like aim
Yeah.
at the people coming
Yeah,
by.
yeah.
So it's like there would be hidden activation points throughout the map that if you activate, like Dora Milaje would pop out and like throw spears at the opposing team.
That's awesome.
And so it'd be like, yeah, sure, you can push the cart, or you could get to the next activation point and try and just like wipe out the team ahead of you.
That's cool. I like that.
And the last one is like a Freaky Friday mode where Doctor Strange is in this game. It's kind of like an AoE where he removes your spirit from your body, like in Avengers Infinity War.
I think it's in there,
Starring, isn't it?
and when you see Spider-Man too, isn't that in No Way
Oh, and
Home?
it's in a couple of them, I guess.
Yeah.
But where he does that and like his powers are on the fritz or something, and you get put, it's kind of like a Mystery Heroes thing. You start out picking your character, but then every time Strange ults, you get put in the body of another hero on your team.
That's great.
And so it's just having to adapt to each character every
almost like a Mystery Heroes you would play, but instead
Yeah.
you're just like jumping on those set on your team.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So it's like you could, if you're playing with the team, you might be able to strategize. It's like, okay, let's pick these 6 that we're all good with, or
Yeah.
you could make it like random gen.
Crazy.
Cool.
Hire me.
Fun ideas, man. And
Yeah,
that's the
few
thing with this
ideas
game.
there, yeah.
The sky is the limit with this game. Like there's so much that they can do. Now, one final question I'm going to throw out here, and I'm not saying that I want this, but it's possible. I mean, you guys know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. You see behind me, I have these. Technically, Star Wars is Marvel. Like, do you think we could possibly get at some point, like what would that look like, and do you think that would be embraced by people, or is that just so like we're getting into Fortnite territory by doing that? Like,
Who knows, man? I mean, maybe skins. You
Yeah.
know, if you could find a way to do a skin for something, but you're right, it is technically Marvel.
because
but
I'm
there's
like,
a
now
lot-
we're
you
kind
know,
of there, and like the Star Wars comic books are pretty good. Like, could you put in like, do you have a Vader? Could you have a Luke? Could you have that in the game? I mean, the only thing I think with them is that they would all play somewhat similarly. I guess they're all just manipulating the form. I mean, they would obviously be different, but
Or would it be like Space Knight Peter Parker and black
Magic.
lunar armor Magneto?
Yeah.
like thinly veiled.
I don't know. I was just thinking, I was like,
would NetEase spend that money
Yeah.
to get those rights? Because
They're
I'm sure
paying-
they were,
Yeah,
they were
that's
paying just
true.
like
Marvel.
that's true.
little
It's
bit,
not
right?
Disney.
not
Disney
Marvel.
rivals.
Right, and it's not
That'd be
Marvel
really
comic
cool too if
books.
that
It's just
existed.
like Marvel.
That's true.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that'll come to Star Wars Hunters, Mark.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
sure it'll be at the same level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same game.
Basically.
Yep. Plays just like it. Just as much. Star Wars Hunters is just as much fun as Marvel Rivals. Yeah. Right.
Well, if
Said no
it
one
goes
ever.
Star Wars, then it's like, does that mean we're gonna get like a Willow skin for Rocket Raccoon?
Let's do it. I don't know. I can't even watch the show anymore. It's not even on Disney Plus, man. So I don't know. Can't tell you.
Who knows?
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there, guys. We went. Geez, what is that? Like a
How long is this?
hour 40. We're sitting at right now, guys.
Oh, okay.
So I think we like Marvel Rivals, or at least like to talk about Marvel Rivals. So if you would like to hear us talk some more about Marvel Rivals in the future, send us an email, theenthuselife@gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter @MarkTurk, MarkTurc. Let me know. And who knows, maybe we'll get together again and we can talk some Marvel Rivals. We'll see what the next beta and kind of what the future holds for this game. But I will say one thing. I think we all had a lot of fun. And Neil, I can't wait for you to get into the game when it drops. I think you're really going to enjoy it, man. It's super fun. Super, super fun.
I am Groot.
So, all right. Any quick final thoughts here before we wrap it up, guys? Or is everybody good?
I hope they fix the Doctor Strange Eye of Lagamoto problem.
No, it's all good. I hope ever more people get in and can experience it and get to share their
Yeah.
pros and cons. It's all good feedback.
I mean, I think a lot of people were pretty hyped after I think that was the genius thing they did, was allowing them, just people to stream it. And like, I think you could just see kind of the hype levels there was a lot of people that were looking at it like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that. Cause on paper, I mean, it sounds great, but then you still always have that stigma of like, well, it's like Overwatch. And but for whatever reason, people just like, Overwatch, So I think once people started seeing the streams, I mean, we were all a part of it, seeing the Discord and seeing like people just wanting codes. You could just put your phone down and put on that Discord or put it up on your PC, and it was just like a ticker, just constantly moving of people like need code. I want a code. When's the next code drop? When do they drop? I mean, it was just nonstop in the Discord, and it like just grew as the days went on that the closed alpha was there. So there's definitely a lot of people hungry for this game. So. I think they're going to have a pretty big hit on their hands for sure.
Outside of the
go ahead.
outside of the game, I think it was just a good alpha experience
Yeah.
for me, because the last beta I did the closed beta for Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, which that's a whole podcast episode itself. Which you weren't allowed to say anything about, post anything about.
Yeah.
And then they released everybody from it. But
Yeah. We all know how that turned out, right? But I don't see that happening here with this game. I think this game they're going to do good. I think with it. If anything, like we said, it's fun. Like, I mean, is this going to be the replacement for you if you're really deep into the competitive side of Overwatch? That I think the jury's going to be out on that, and whether or not you like first person, third person, whatever. But if you're just looking to have a good time, and hell, it's free. Why wouldn't you play this game for free, especially if you're a Marvel fan? It's a lot of fun. So, all right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in, and with that, we'll catch you next time. Later.
Yeah.